Ladies and gentlemen, choice makers, life livers, welcome to the present moment. Ah, yeah. Now, change is when you take a few things, rearrange them, maybe you'll paint over the cracks or something, right? Change happens, it's inevitable. It can be either good, it can be bad, that's life is change. Transformation, on the other hand, is like a totally different situation. Transformation is when you take the structure and you break it down to rebuild with completely different vision in mind. Now, I have the pleasure today of hanging out with a man who knows exactly what transformation really is. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the world's greatest experiment and the star of a film called May I Be Frank. This is the epic FRANK.m4v. Amazing.
Wow. Well, thank you for that. Wow, an unbelievable introduction. I've never been called an experiment before.
Haven't you? Well,
No, I've been called a lot of things.
Yeah.
Experiment has, now there's one more.
Yeah. Well, you were sort of an experiment, wasn't it? It was an experiment.
Well, I think all of us, in a way, are experimenting.
Totally.
In life. I mean, I think that people like to believe that they have their life in control, and they know when they're going to be, what time they have to be somewhere, and how they get back, and all that. But really, this is such an illusion.
It is.
Because your whole life could change in a split second.
Oh yeah.
In a split second, as a result of an event that you may or may not realize that you brought upon yourself.
Absolutely, and that's why I wanted to introduce you like that, because change really is inevitable, right? Like, life is about change. However, what I suggest to people is that you instigate the change, because if you don't, then stuff's going to keep turning up and turning up and turning up. Life's going to be trying to call you into better choices and decisions. But if you don't embrace that, then what eventually happens is that, boom, something happens, you get a diagnosis, you put your car around a pole, or something happens in order to take yourself into transformation, doesn't it?
I look at it rather simply. The way I look at it is when God offers a message and you don't hear it, He turns up the volume.
Yes.
Until you get the message.
Yeah.
And that was my experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, you're an epic symbol to a lot of people, and the Australian audience has just watched May I Be Frank, and unless you're like going to walk through the door any minute, that's possible.
Which is possible. Which is, anything is possible.
Anything is possible, right? So we just want to thank you for...
in which case we'll save this for the next show.
Thanks, go wrap it up.
Yeah, just save it for the next screening when I can't make it. You say you have one in the can.
So look at what you've done. Like the success of this film and what the sort of ripple effect that it's having. Did you anticipate such a explosion of goodness?
No, I really didn't. I didn't anticipate the response that we get. The consistent response that we've received over the past year and a half. We've been touring the film around the country, and hopefully we come to your neck of the woods soon. But I'm amazed at the level of ardor that the people have. I mean, we actually have fans. I mean, I never thought I'd have a fan.
Yeah.
The best I could hope for was, a girlfriend who wouldn't throw me out. It's like, but a fan, no. And the people that are touched by the film. Across the board, they're all different kinds of people, and I'm deeply moved by it. And the thing about this is that with the people that watch the film, that respond to it, is that we're getting well together. It's not like I have a nice compartmentalized and boxed and wrapped answer. I'm getting well along with everyone else.
Yes.
And what I found in the tour, and speaking to a lot of audiences, is that there's so many people that really have a desire to perpetuate a transformation, to spark some kind of shift in their lives, but they either don't have the language, don't have the permission, just don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
And that's been across the country everywhere we've gone, and I've seen that. And the thing that surprises me is that because there's so much of the film that revolves around addiction, and that I'm an alcoholic, an addict. It doesn't matter. The feelings are the same because the people I speak to in these different audiences are having the same feelings that I had, except that they don't deal with them with drugs or alcohol. There are other ways, or sometimes they're just living lives of quiet desperation.
Yeah.
Yet there's a strong desire for a shift, and it's everywhere, and it's just amazing to me.
It really is amazing, and I think it speaks to this time in human history and the current paradigm that we're living in, and that's why I believe there's been such an opening and such a powerful response to your film, is because it strikes such a reality chord in people, and like you said, whether people are trying to overcome like what we would call serious things, or even if they're just trying to shift a little bit, where they're a little bit more dedicated to their life's processes or whatever it is they're doing, there's a common ground here, isn't there? And what the power is in the unifying field that we can create together, right?
Exactly, and I really appreciate the term unifying field, because one of the things about the film is, at least at this point, the way we're presenting it, we're not opposing or endorsing anything. And so we're not taking at this point a political position or anything like that, because we're trying to include people into, that's not the message at the moment. That has its place.
Yes.
The message, we want to try to bring in as many people as possible into this and have people feel included and not excluded.
Yeah.
And a unifying field is exactly what we're trying to create.
That's beautiful. That's what one of the most powerful things I use in Nowism is, what have we got in common? Is the present moment, Right. And so let's highlight the unifying things that we have in common. And human emotion is definitely one of those things.
It's a very fundamental thing. And again, with the film was after the film where people stay for the Q&A. And if you notice at the end of a film, most people book, they split, right? They take off. And I'm amazed that people stay for as long as they stay, sometimes as long as 2 hours. But what that tells me, and I indicate this during the Q&A, is that everyone there, although they think this is a community, they're all, even though they may be very different from the people there, their circumstances or their background, they're in the same place for the same reason.
Yeah.
There's a thread, a through line that goes into everyone emotionally.
Yes, it's beautiful, man. So you walk into a cafe.
I was minding my own business. I was walking down the street, minding my own business.
And you see cafe gratitude, and you get a little bit of a tickle because it's one of the 12-step.
Well, it's the central virtue of the 12-step world.
Yeah.
That gratitude.
Yeah.
To be grateful. And it's also the thing about the 12-step world and the 12 steps. Again, those are derived from ancient principles.
Yes.
Ancient spiritual principles, and that's the thing. It's the other thing is that the unifying field is that it's not just about the food, and it's not just about the food, and it's not just about meditating. It's really the three aspects of life, right? Mind, body, and spirit.
Yes.
Right, and that's the other part of the film that it's very important to me to convey. Is that, well, one of them, because there's several, but one of them is that it's three things, because you can eat raw food and be an asshole.
Yes.
Right? I mean, you can. I mean, it's not going to cure everything.
No.
You have to practice a mindful life as well. And the other thing that is important to me about the film, and it's one of the most gratifying things I hear from people, is that they would fall off whatever wagon they were on, but felt that they had permission and it was okay to get back on it without beating themselves up.
Yes.
Because they see in the film that there are these setbacks.
Yes.
Because life is not linear.
No, it really
it's not.
isn't.
It's not an American film from the 30s, right?
Yeah.
That just has, that just goes forward continually and
yes.
without any kind of traumatic backsliding. So.
Yeah. In Taoism, I talk a lot about how this isn't something that you graduate into. You don't learn wisdom and then get your hat and go, I did it, got the t-shirt, thanks for coming.
No, you can see those guys at late night TV infomercials.
You know? But it's a now-to-now process, isn't it? And you can deepen your understanding and still, like, even after years of having practiced this stuff, you're still a student, you know? I think that's really, it's such a powerful part of what you demonstrate. And I know that the audience at home, as the LA audience that asked you questions recently, people were shocked to hear that you fell off the train after all of this like beautiful success, the beginning, middle, end of a film. Then there's this like little write up at the end where, oh my God, like what happened to Frank? He fell back into all sorts of things.
Right.
And I just want to bring that question to the table here and now, because I remember you saying that the filmmakers actually wanted to take that out.
No, actually, it wasn't the filmmakers. We went to we were trying to get the film distributed.
Oh, I see.
And what happened was that these people were watching, and they actually were very successful distributors. And they were watching the film. Actually, it was one of the guys from The Secret.
Oh yeah.
And he said he watched it with several of his colleagues. There were 3 women that he watched it with. They were colleagues, and they were very they liked the film, but they were very upset about the fact that there's this fight scene with my ex-wife. We're really very arguing, and that I relapsed, and we said, well, they said we like the film, but we want to take that out because everything else is so positive and that's negative. And especially the fight scene with your ex-wife, in which I said, I said, she's Puerto Rican, I'm Italian. We weren't really fighting there. We were like, discussing pancakes or waffles, and that transformation again, like life isn't linear, and so they didn't go with us. But we realized that if we took those pieces out of the film, it would be like taking the left ventricle out of the heart.
Yeah.
It was really, it's a big part of the film, and I really like the fact that it gives people permission to be human.
Yes, and make mistakes and learn again and again and again, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I just said, to address your point about the continual being the student.
Yes.
I remember this one guy once somewhere in the Midwest asked, Q&A asked me, Frank, well, now that you've gotten past all your issues, what's that like? And I looked at him and I said, listen, man, when I get the memo, like I'll let you know, but and it was then that I realized that it was important for me to convey that I'm right there with the audience, because people look at a screen and they see you immediately become an alpha male. I always wanted to be one of those. So all of a sudden I'm an alpha, you become an alpha male, and they see they see the beginning, the middle, and the end, and they make whatever assumptions they want to make, and it looks like you've arrived. Yeah. And there is no arrival. No. It's circular. It's really arrival. I mean, it's circular. It goes spirals up, but it's circular. Yeah. And again, that's a very important part of the message.
I think that it really speaks to the integrity of your character to really insist on that being left in. And I know it wasn't just you; it was the Gratitude Boys as well, who sort of.
And courage too.
Yeah. Courage,
because when you're like us and really doing this on a shoestring, and I mean shoestrings.
Yeah.
It's really, we tied shoestrings together and made the camera work. And so in the face of that, I have a lot of respect for the filmmakers that didn't bow down to that, particularly Greg Marks, who has been really the John Lennon of this project. Really.
Nice. Yeah, no, I think it's so important for people to know that, it's not all rose-coloured at the end of the journey, because the journey was only just beginning for you then.
It was 42 days.
Yeah.
It was 42 days.
Yes.
I actually received an angry email from a lady that accused us of being disingenuous because I didn't lose all my weight during the 42 days. I lost 120 pounds. If I would have amputated all my limbs, I'd still be overweight, But it's people see and hear what they want to see and hear.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what it speaks to most of all is the human potential. What happened is that you embraced an opportunity. You took the invitation, you said yes. And that's epic courage right there. The quantum leap happened when you just said yes. And then you had to deal with the love, the food, the reality of the process, and all of that, right?
Well, I appreciate being told I'm courageous. I actually feel a little uncomfortable with that because the way I see it is I was given the gift of desperation.
Mm-hmm.
I was desperate to create a shift in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know how, I didn't know what it looked like. I just knew that it had to happen or I was going to die.
Yes.
And in the world that I was living, actually there are worse things than dying.
Oh, of course.
There were very like things that were far worse than dying. And so, and out of that came this. And I didn't think of myself as particularly courageous. You know.
No.
Maybe it was, maybe, I don't know.
But you had to say yes to the voice. You know, you're walking into Cafe Gratitude with all of that love coming at you, because those boys are living from the answer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you have all that love coming at you and you're not used to it, you could have walked out straight away. Do you know what I mean? But there was something.
But I couldn't. I gave my word. I said I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, and I think that's where the
one of the guys in California who is not commitment phobic. It doesn't mean I want to be in a relationship. It just means I'm not commitment phobic.
So tell me, do you do the liquid green goodness?
Well, I never acquired a taste for the wheat grass.
Does it ever happen to anyone?
I've known people that love it. That
Mm-hmm.
they use words like sweet. If it's in another drink and there's a lot of other stuff.
Yeah, you can do it. And so, regarding your diet today, have you found a happy balance between the old world and the new world, or are you mostly in the new world, or
I am primarily a plant-based diet, and I occasionally veer into the dark side.
Dark side.
And but really not often, very rarely, and I see myself going closer. I met a friend that's strictly raw food chef, and I love that food. I just do. If it's prepared the way this individual prepares it, it's magnificent.
Awesome.
Actually, Los Angeles is blessed with a number of really fine raw food chefs.
It's true. It's so available here. Vegan, raw, it's amazing actually. There's a little pocket. Yeah,
one of the places. Actually, this is we can talk about Peace Yoga, which is downtown, which I really recommend you go to. You should really talk to her.
Okay.
But I'm sorry, that's a conversation, not an interview. I apologize.
No, that's cool.
But this is Australia. We can do that, right?
We can totally do that.
Okay, cool.
I just gave him a look because something will emerge from there, and it was like,
You guys are it's got the secret language going on. Okay, that's cool.
What was I going to say? So, there was the food, and there was the love. Mm-hmm. Now, I asked Ryland what was most important. I said, you can't really quantify, it was the love of food. And he had this really wonderful answer that the food was an extension of the love. That when you start to really love yourself, you just actually start to eat food that's like
exactly.
this,
Yeah, it's true.
And so, how do you feel about the inner transformation? Because you can take the action, right? Like you said, there's 3 things, right? Talk to me about what went on emotionally and those sort of things.
Emotionally, it was very challenging because I the affirmations, for example, really I hated doing them because I felt like I was going to get struck by lightning.
Yeah, right.
For lying.
Yeah.
What I didn't realize is that I was in the process of carving a new neural pathway. Yeah. And cutting past the illusion and into the reality. Yes. And so internally there was convulsions internally. The food on the physical side. Well, with the physical side, occasionally I still had cravings for certain things. But internally, it was really challenging. As strange as it may seem, challenging to let affection in like that. It was very hard. And the weight was reflective of my insulation.
Yes.
That's what the weight was. The weight was a wall that, on a very, very perverse level and degenerative level was the illusion of protection.
So the pain that you were experiencing in your life prior to this, was it ignited by a series of things? Was it? Can you like say that it came from one source really? Like just all the doubt, the fear, the worry, you know?
Well, was there one thing? Well, the thing with everything that was going on in the film, whatever the energy was that I brought into that film was established a long time ago.
Yes.
So there are patterns that I established as a young boy that I used to survive. These patterns were adopted and cultivated and used for survival.
Yes.
And even though my world, I came out of that world, I didn't need those tools anymore. I continued to use them nevertheless, because to let them go felt like death. Or like Michael Beckwith says, the ego doesn't know the difference between annihilation and transformation.
Yes.
Well, when you change a pattern or let go of a story, there's a moment that feels like you're going to die if you do that. And that's because I've used these things for survival for so long, but they no longer apply. And not only do they no longer apply, they no longer serve me.
Yeah.
They're a detriment because they keep the sunlight of the spirit from coming in. Right? They keep me from experiencing the full cycle of love. Right? The cyclical experience of love. All those things are inhibited by those belief systems, that survival belief systems. So I didn't get rid of them in 42 days. It took a long time, and it's a continuing process. And every time, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that someone in your audience will relate to this. As soon as you think you got it, the universe will put something in your way to remind you that you don't. Yeah. And it's not to kick you down. It's, in my view, it's to awaken me to continue the path. Yes. Because if I start thinking I got it, I'm going to veer into the dark side. Yeah. Because it's still there, and I'm attracted to it. Yeah. It's cool. So I'm not like a lot of other people in the raw food world where they're constantly walking in a bubble of light. Yeah. I'm really aware of my shadow. Because that son of a bitch is really an arm's length away. Yeah. So I just to be aware of it. Yeah, that's awesome. I think that you represent such a typecast out there, because a lot of these patterns that you cultivated over time were really inherited belief patterns. We're born into a world that doesn't completely nurture the light, doesn't teach you to love yourself, And I think that these obstacles, that no matter how you've encountered them, we've all encountered similar obstacles, and it's just knowing or stumbling across the information or rediscovering, there's other opportunities here for my growth. And that's what happened when you walk into that cafe, right? All of that's in retrospect, because at that moment, I didn't know. I walked into a cafe that was serving food I never heard of before. Yeah, right. Yeah. I never knew that raw food actually was a culture. I had no idea that was something that, I knew about vegetarians, but not about that kind of lifestyle at all. I have no idea. So everything now is in retrospect. At the time, it was like a very new experience. As I say, when I thought vegan was a planet, that Spock directed Chekhov to plot. I didn't know about that stuff. I really had no idea, no clue. Do you think that over the course of this transformational experience that your vocabulary has changed? My way of speaking has definitely shifted. I'm still a wise ass, but nevertheless a spiritually based wise ass. Yeah. You have a now when I do character assassination, it's always with love. Love, sweet love. I think that you have a poetic
grace to you.
Oh,
Yeah.
bless your heart.
It's true though, like you do, and I've heard you just say such beautiful things about the art of transformation, and I don't know, like I've just been so moved by you as an artist. I think that you,
well, thank you.
and maybe that's always been in you, because probably a gift that you have to bring either way, you know, transformation.
It's amazing what's in there.
Yeah.
You know, it really is. It's amazing what's in there, and we're really, to address an earlier point that you were making, that we are not generally we're not taught to seek the light.
Mm-hmm.
We're taught to watch out for what's out there.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like look at, like, you know, I always I noticed this, for example, with women.
Mm-hmm.
My sister, like I'll go to her house and like she'll lock every lock. It's like, you know, I'll notice it with women where they lock every lock on the door.
Yeah.
And I notice. I mean, it's not that it's not invalid.
No.
But it's an indication of our society.
Yes.
You know.
And LA, because in Australia, you know, when I got home last time, I went to the little corner shop. This guy parked his car, left the keys and the engine running, ran inside to get his bread and milk, paid for it, and I was like, I'm so home right now. I'd been in LA,
Wow.
you know, like, and it's just
That's
a
wonderful.
different type of fear that it's still there.
Yeah.
Right? Don't get me wrong, we're not all rose colored.
But I also at the same time believe that that's shifting.
Yes,
I see it. I see it all the time.
Yes.
And it's a really beautiful thing. And it's interesting how people are afraid of the light. And I can speak to that because I was.
Yes.
I definitely was apprehensive about the light, letting it in. And part of me thought, well, if I start doing this practice, I'm gonna lose my personality. So I won't have a sense of humor anymore, and
Yeah.
everything will be like boring because everybody's like smiling and
Yeah, no drama too. It's
No,
just,
I mean I could do without the drama, but it was an illusion because I thought the same thing when I was drinking.
yeah.
Before I stopped drinking, you know, when I realized I had to stop drinking, and I began that process of living a sober life. My initial thought was, oh my God, you know, my life. How am I going to do anything? How am I going to have fun? How am I going to ask a girl on a date? How am I going to make love? And you know, what am I going to do at a party? The reality was, towards the end of my drinking, I wasn't doing any of that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, but I was worried about not doing it anymore. No, nobody was knocking on my door. I got to tell you. You know, so that was the illusion, and what the illusion was, I stopped drinking, and all those things did start happening. I started having fun. I was having really meaningful relationships. I was meeting people and having a good time and really enjoying life. And the same is true with the light. It's not like, and it's just a matter of letting, for me, what it is a matter of letting go of beliefs that no longer serve me. And if the biblical passage is, when I became a man, I put away foolish things. Well, what that means to me is that there were certain aspects of who I was that were time to stop using, stop being that way. It's time to put those things aside. Those aspects of those aspects of being that I thought were part of my survival mechanism that weren't. And when I had to do that lovingly, not like, oh man, that was really stupid, or that was.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it in a condemning fashion because then I'm still attached to it.
Mm.
And so someone once told me something that was very, very moving to me, because when the film first came out, I couldn't bear to look at it because I had nothing but contempt for the guy on the screen. Absolute contempt and revulsion for the person on the screen. And this woman said to me that before I can be at peace and honor myself now, that I had to honor the guy on the screen.
Yes, man, that's huge.
And it touched me.
Mm-hmm.
It really, and I realized I had work to do.
Yeah.
Because I was really far from that.
Mm-hmm.
I just couldn't say, oh, okay, that's a great idea. I'm not that type of person. It doesn't come easily to me.
Mm.
I mean, I guess it could. Maybe I don't know. Somebody has some mechanism or technology somewhere that yes, you can incorporate this into your being right away.
Yeah.
It hasn't been my experience. Every transformative experience I've had has taken some work.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that's everybody's experience.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's close too, though. You know, I think that it's important to, like we've been saying, it's not linear. You know, it's a process. Like life is going to happen, and what turns up, it's about what you do with it, isn't it? You know, like because I love what Beckwith says. He says, you know, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. And it's what happens is people get caught up in the story they tell about their pain, you know. And I would love to hear the difference between the story that you're telling now compared to the stories that you were telling yourself, that inner talk that was going on back then, you know.
I was much more self-deprecating back then than I am now, and yeah, I think I think that, you know, pain is inevitable and suffering is optional. I think all those things are there's a validity in there somewhere, but it's also it's almost like a platitude in a way that it takes time to get to the place. I can't intellectualize my way out of stuff. If I have a feeling, it takes a while to, you know, I can recognize now. It's important to identify the feeling. Recognize it, know it's not going to kill you, and recognize that it's short term, that it's weather, right?
Yeah.
Now I can do that now, but as a young person or without that insight, I couldn't do that. And so I would hear something like pain is inevitable and suffering is optional. I'd hear that and I'd make myself wrong for not being able to make the transition.
Sure.
And so I think it's important to let people know that you can't think your way out of a new way of being. You have to live your way into a new way of thinking.
Yes.
And that takes time, and it also takes doing something that doesn't come easy to us as human beings. Taking contrary action.
Yes.
Saying no when I want to say yes.
Yeah.
You know, and it starts with the simplest things, like not picking up that drink when I really want to pick it up.
Yeah.
But don't pick it up.
Yeah.
And I have, and then by not picking up, I develop a little more strength.
Yeah.
And also a resolution, a conviction,
Yeah.
and evidence. You know, because evidence is important.
It is.
I grew up in a faith that told me believe without knowing, believe without seeing, believe, and with no evidence.
Yeah.
And I never could grab that. I wanted to, but I never could. Once I got a little evidence about the divine, I could believe that, that I could believe in something greater than myself without having all the evidence. And that was a big step for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, you've certainly been a very powerful and endearing. Like what I love about you is you're just really entertaining. You've come in a wicked package, you know.
Well, I am merely a reflection of you.
I know, and look at me.
Then I must be doing all right.
You know?
If I'm a reflection of you, I'm doing, and him, you're doing all right.
No, we want to thank Frank Grimes because you are a symbol of the emerging paradigm. And ultimately, you're a symbol of and I know you don't want to hear it, but I'm going to bring it anyway. That you are a symbol of courage because you had to say yes. You made yourself, on some level, you became available to this epic story, this transformation to happen to you, through you, with you, on you, around you, And I can't wait to see where you unfold to, because you're really just a little kid. You're just getting started, And I'm like so proud of you.
Thank you.
And proud enough to give you an award.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
I get an award?
You do. Remember I was telling you that I gave Michael Beckwith an award?
Oh my God, I'm getting an award like, oh my gosh.
And now this is a Nowism Consciousness Award. It acknowledges his awakeness. So here we go.
Oh wow.
This is Nowism Consciousness Award, and it's to you, Frank-ism, in acknowledgement of awesomeness. One of your conscious thoughts offsets 10,000 unconscious emissions. So on behalf of the present moment, myself, Nowism, and the entire cosmos, life-changing docos, thanks for filling it up consciously.
Oh, look at this guy.
No, thank you. I love you.
I love you too. All right. Thanks, Australia.
You.
I hope I'm in the room.
Me too.
All right.